Well, welcome back to our study called The Call of God, and we were looking at Genesis 12, and today we're looking at verses 6 through 7, where God appears to Abram. So, as Abram enters into Canaan, he is a sojourner, right? He doesn't live there, he doesn't own any property, this is not his homeland. He considers Mesopotamia, Ur of the Chaldeans, his homeland. So he's in a different place, he's in a new place. He doesn't have a residence, and so he begins to travel across the country. He's a sojourner. In verse 6, it says that Abram traveled until he came to the place at Shechem. The place. That's an important phrase. He comes to the oak, or the terebinth of Moreh. Moses includes the note that the Canaanites were in the land at the time. Well, hello. We might think, of course, thanks, Captain Obvious. Why include this in the narrative? Why did he make a specific point like, hey, the Canaanites were still there? Well, this is their land. Who else would be there? There are several things that we might miss here if we miss these clues. The Canaanites are in the land, which all good Israelites know are pagan idol worshippers. That's who these Canaanites were. Abram has come to the place at Shechem. The phrase "the place" is often used about a place of a shrine or a place where there's an idol devoted to a god. So, the oak or the Moreh of Moreh seems to be a place of pagan idol worship. This is the place. This is the site where you would go to worship a pagan god. A little grove of trees or a singular oak tree was, and in some places still is today, seen as a religious place. Here you go, you have this oak. And sometimes, when there was like this one tree, this one oak tree just hanging out there all by itself, then it's like, whoa, okay, this is unusual, so this must be a place where we can meet with a god or something. And that's what the people thought. Unfortunately, that's still the same thing. You get a little grove of trees that are all isolated, or you get a little tree by itself. And here, this must be a religious place. And so let's build a shrine to our God here. It's a spot to meet with the supernatural. That's what the place at Shechem was. So during the time of the kings, if you read the book of Kings and Chronicles, you see that God complained that the people, even the prophets, you see God complaining about how the people had set up idols under every green tree. So now there's an idol, like every tree that there's around, let's put an idol here. Oh, this must be a holy spot, let's put an idol there. So they're putting idols everywhere. And so this is kind of the situation that Abram walks into. He's coming into Shechem, where there's this place, this place devoted to a pagan god. And so while at Shechem, the true God appears to Abram again. And God tells Abram that the land that he has been traveling through will belong to his family. What does Abram do? He builds an altar to the Lord. Isn't it interesting that God brings Abram to this place of pagan worship and appears to him? Then Abram builds an altar to the Lord, and really in defiance of the gods of that place. He's setting up an alternative worship center here, an alternative worship place for him, in the shadow of a pagan shrine. Here we have some foreshadowing by Moses again. Abram is declaring the power of the one true God and the promises of God right there at that spot where pagan worship would be happening. So Abram's really, he's putting his foot down. He's declaring that this land belongs to the Lord. And then God says, well, I'm going to give this land to you.